like it's going to work. I want to talk about. We're going to talk some more about. Goodness for work. We're going to talk some more about the United States Patent and Trademark Office. All right, so this just isn't right to be holding and suppressing this information. Maybe I can get rid of a little bit of that glare. Not really. All right. So I'll continue reading a little bit and we'll do a little commentary. If anybody is here, if you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear, or in the comment, say something. All right. We'll pick up where we left off here. So the last thing I had read was failure to respond with an extensive detailed report prior to the expiration of the 30-day deadline means that you are suppressing the information and may be considered complicit in the fraud on the people. And hey, Josh, can you hear me okay? Is the sound coming through? All right, I'm going to hope so. I'm going to keep on reading until you tell me no. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Josh? All right. Beautiful. All right, we're going to keep on going. So we'll read on a little bit here. I believe that Mr. Goodloe felt extreme pressure to cooperate with the nefarious, evil, wicked pressure from the United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner, Michael Miller, to comply with his plan and perpetrate a fraud, or Mr. Goodloe would face difficulties with United States Patent and Trade Office examinations in future case prosecutions. In other words, well, we got a delay. Shall I keep going with this, Josh? I'm going to keep going. You tell me if it gets too bad. Connection shows it's good. Please take further notice that the Bar Association is a private association. The people have not authorized private foreign entities to use our governing agencies or their representatives, policy makers, police, employees, or courts to attack those who stand in their position for the people's protection and civil rights. If you believe that you or any other public servant or governing authority were given constitutional authority to act without accountability to the people, show the authority in any one of the state constitutions or the U.S. Constitution, and where we, the people, gave any public servant the power to interfere with the will of we, the people, and oppress them. Within 5 days of receipt of this notice, with proper certified delivery requiring autograph of receipt. Failure to acknowledge the facts presented herein and within this document and take swift action to correct any and all injustices against any one of the people is unacceptable, evil, wicked, and treasonous. And it is. So how come this guy, the head of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, doesn't go question his employees? How come he doesn't send me a report? How come he doesn't deny any of this? Failure to acknowledge the facts presented herein and within this document and take swift action to correct any and all injustices against any one of the people is unacceptable, evil, wicked, and treasonous. I, Mr. Ethan Dean, believe, and it appears to me, that a coordinated attack has been waged on me personally and professionally from several federal and state government agencies and departments that appear to continue still to this day. And still to this day. All right. This was back in the summertime. Now we're in December. It's still going on. You should consider that my oral health discoveries and intellectual property are and will continue to be very disruptive to big pharma and traditional healthcare service industries, as there is nothing available the world over that is natural and removes calcified oral plaques or that prevents oral plaque accumulation on teeth and tissue. Additionally, until I held in my hand evidence from an independent dentist evaluation in December 2015, medical science was unable to rejuvenate lost gum tissue or prevent gum tissue loss. And this was stated so in the United States National Library of Medicine. And in 2016 to 2019, science had a colossal $1.8 billion failure in what I believe was an attempt to conceal and quash the rejuvenative medicinal value of cannabis and my position with cannabis and oral health. The United States Patent and Trademark Office may have big industry moles working within the ranks, and or both, involved from inside and outside the ranks of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I believe that to be true. So, what are we going to do about it? I got a plan. I do. I got this figured out. And Ethan, what do you mean? Don't you need to talk to an attorney? Don't you need to talk with your governor or your sheriff? Or I tried all that. Been there, done that. Run the gamut. Held court with a bunch of these people. So, Constitution, Maryland, Article 6. And of course, all men are created equal. The rights of one state are applied equally to all states. And your state's constitutions have different things written. So it's good to have a copy of all of them. It really is. And this one here is like a beautiful love letter from your forefathers. And I'm proud to read it. But realize, if you knew who you are, Americans, you have national immunity. You have immunity from being arrested. What's an arrest? That's being stopped. Yeah, you're walking down a sidewalk and some guy with a badge and a gun, handcuffs, wants to stop you and ask you a question. That's an arrest. That's unconstitutional. If you had my notice of liability and you had served that on your sheriff, well, Lord have mercy, you'd be very wealthy and that person would be very poor and spending time, a lot of time, in prison for treason. That's just how it works. So, excuse me. Maryland, Article 6, that all persons invested with the legislative or executive powers of government are the trustees of the public, and as such, accountable for their conduct. Whose conduct? Not yours, theirs. They're accountable for themselves. To who? To us, the boss. All right. accountable for their conduct. Wherefore, whenever the ends of government are perverted, whenever the ends of government are perverted, come on, people, whenever the ends of government are perverted, the public liberty manifestly endangered. Oh, I left a word out. Let's go back. Bad on me. Whenever the ends of government are perverted, comma, and public liberty manifestly endangered, and all other means of redress are ineffectual, the people may, and of right, ought to reform the old or establish a new government. The doctrine of non resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. Right? So, what are we going to do about it? Well, what are you going to do about it, Ethan? I got this all figured out. I do. And I'm going to tell you more. Should we read a little bit more constitutional stuff? How about Arizona Article 1, Bill of Rights? Rights of persons. All men are by nature free and independent and have certain unalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending. Catch that? Defending what? Defending life and liberty. Whose life and whose liberty? Yours. What, should we go back? I'm telling you, if you knew who you were, none of this would be necessary. None of this paperwork, none of this crap that we're going through, none of it would be necessary. But it's all right. We're going to fix it. Because we know now, after generations and generations of this deceit and this trickery. All right, here we go. Let's start right from the beginning on this. Rights of persons. All men are by nature free and independent and have certain unalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life, liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness. Well, that's not the world we're living in, because you're in fear. You are. I don't care who you are. You're in fear. Oh, you might know a good attorney. Your friend might be a judge. That's not going to get you in every jurisdiction, unless you want to live in your basement. All right, so let's get back to a little bit of reading, because this is really important, because our sheriff's got an order for arrest. Yeah. Because of treason. And the sheriff's number, 231-258-8686. Everybody in that office that's still taking a paycheck and giving aid and comfort to that sheriff is being treasonous in their activities. And that notice was not to be suppressed, and was ordered to be distributed to all county employees. It sure appears that the prosecutor took off in a hurry. Within a matter of weeks, he was gone. All right. Oral plaques are well known and understood to be responsible for tooth decay and poor oral health. The National Institute of Health and the American Dental Association have no evidence that a root canal tooth is safe. There is a body of evidence that every root canal tooth is toxic and the cause of many serious poor health outcomes. In March 2016, Washington State pulled the marijuana research license after I had presented my findings to the licensing authority. In May 2016, I'm arrested, jailed, and charged with many felony crimes. And in May 2016, the same month and year, the National Institute of Health funds 1.8 billion taxpayer dollars for a study titled Revolutionizing the Root Canal, only to announce in early 2019 that the study failed to regenerate gum tissue. Yeah, they're trying to regenerate gum tissue in a petri dish, I believe. And I showed them rejuvenation in the mouth. They just ignore it. Put me in jail, spend 1.8 billion of your dollars to find a reason why you don't need cannabis for this. Well, since then they've come out with some pretty fancy toothbrushes, really good ones. They're talking about some new sour gel that'll regrow teeth and gums. However, I haven't seen any evidence, but they're talking about it. And I didn't say that marijuana was the only thing in the world that will rejuvenate your gum tissue or prevent the loss of your gum tissue or prevent calcified oral plaques and or remove calcified oral plaques, the primary cause for tooth decay, the primary cause for root canal. There's probably all kinds of wonderful things. So $1.8 billion. Only to announce in 2019 that the study failed to regenerate gum tissue. I believe that the researchers had exhausted the majority of $1.8 billion funding and knew the failing results on September 17th, 2018, when United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller tried to get Mr. Goodloe to have me drop all my claims and pursue a toxic poison for humans formulation. As such, I have every reason to believe that the United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Miller did not act alone. Additionally, in 2018, the United States froze the banking of a Canadian Jamaican outfit that had agreed and committed to work with me in developing the marketing my discoveries, my trade secrets, and potential intellectual property. And they have had a steady stream of setbacks from the Jamaican licensing authority the 5 months that I was in Jamaica that continued through December 2020, as if the hands of suppression and oppression know no boundary. And when returned stateside, I got extra scrutiny at the airport with an extra thorough inspection. You know, I had almost kind of forgotten about that. That was really something. I'm coming back from Jamaica. I go through all the security and everything, and they go, over here. Holy fripe. If I'd have had a seed, they'd have found it and they wouldn't have been happy. And I didn't know I had immunity. So I'd have been in trouble. I'd have fallen into their presumptions, and all that kind of stuff. All right. We'll continue on with a little bit more reading. From the very beginning, I would have had no problem financing my intellectual property internationally and desired it and tried extremely diligently to secure a PCT application up to the very last opportunity. The attacks from the United States Patent and Trademark Office and my county, state, and federal government agencies and departments of have severely hindered my ability and has caused a failure in securing the PCT application. Besides the economic loss to me, the people suffer with unconstitutional drug policy and statutes that keep them sick, oppressed, criminalized. As such, the cost is so extreme in pain and suffering, loss of life, liberty, loss of financial, and more that I'm not able to calculate a comprehensive total at this time. It's off the charts. It is literally off the charts. I can't I, I can't even begin. What's the cost of one day in prison? How are you going to buy that back for somebody? I don't know how. Shortening your life, making you miserable. I one day somebody's going to sit down and figure out just how expensive this disaster really is on society as a whole, the world over. And uh, this is a global issue here. And I think there's Nuremberg implications in this because the American Dental Association ignores the fact that root canal teeth are toxic and make you sick. The medical profession doesn't say a word. And my dentist tells me if I talk about marijuana and oral health in the dentist office regarding my personal health, I'm barred for life. Why? Because they're living in fear. What other reason could there be? I'm the only man in the world rejuvenating gum tissue, preventing gum tissue loss, preventing calcified oral plaques, which prevent tooth decay, removing calcified oral plaques. And my dentist, for my personal care, tells me if I discuss this in that office, I'm barred for life. Parasites in fear. See, everyone's in chains. Well, I got 3 people on here that aren't in chains. They're giving a thumbs up. See, people have been afraid to give a thumbs up because I got so many targets on me. You don't want to be a target because you associated with me, because you gave me a thumbs up, or because you made a positive comment, or because you sent me a buck so I could have a cigarette or a spot of coffee, right? And I have gone without. I've gone without food. I've gone without cigarettes. I've gone without coffee. I've gone a long time without friends, without family, because there's a war. And I didn't leave to go off to war. The war is at home, right here in America, right here where I stand, wherever I stand. And they begged me, Ethan, give it up. You're just one man. Just give it up. Go do some painting. Go build some walls. Go put up some cabinets. Build a stairway. Put in some tile. How is that going to save you? How is that going to save my children? How is that going to save my grandchildren? How is that going to save my brothers and my sisters and their mothers and fathers, their aunts and uncles, their grandmas and grandpas, their cousins? Somebody had to take a hard road. And it's been a hard road. But you know what? It feels really good to be here now. Because you're a winner. You're a winner. You're on the winning side. And some of these people aren't. They're not. We're going to find that out real soon. All right, we'll get back to reading here. Back to reading. When I knew I had a partner and a program to stop, or when I knew I had I can't read my own typing. When I knew I had a partner and a program to step into, I filed provisional patents that were abandoned due to oppression. As such, the cost of intellectual property losses far exceeds the case of discussion. And that is a fact. You see, I do write provisional patents. You can too. It's not that difficult. See, you don't need a drawing. You don't need an abstract. It doesn't have to be in legalese. There's a few things you got to get right, but you can file a provisional patent and you can do it pretty darn cheap. However, you do have to follow through, and you're going to want a patent attorney for that, or you need to be one, and that starts to get expensive. And so I couldn't follow through on some awesome patents that I filed because of the oppression, all the attacks. So that's something that's got to be added into the equation. But right now, I don't even want to think about it. I got a sheriff that's got to get arrested, so we can replace him with a sheriff who will arrest these other losers that have been denying you. They've been denying you your freedom, your liberty, your health, and they've been making you pay and worry and be sick and be in pain and in fear. And we're going to end it. We'll get back to some reading. I hit the wire. Please take further notice. Please take further notice that should United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller or another complicit, culpable bad actor within or outside the United States Patent and Trademark Office wish to fully cooperate in the investigation, I will advocate for leniency pertaining to any potential charge or conviction of treason which does carry a death penalty of firing squad or hanging, because all the rats must be exposed. That's a fact. All the rats must be exposed. However, no takers. Time expired. You can't fix stupid. All right, back to reading. Furthermore, please take notice that any bar association attorney who represents a bad actor in the United States Patent and Trademark Office investigating and or criminal prosecution will be considered an unlicensed foreign entity combatant warring with the people. You see, the bar is the problem. The bar is a big problem. Admit United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller interfered in Mr. Ethan D. Dean's United States Patent and Trademark Office patent case with ill intent. Admit that United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller placed a call for Mr. Goodloe, recorded and dated Tuesday, September 11th, 2018 at 12:56 p.m. I believe that's Pacific Coast time. Admit Mr. Goodloe was not available to receive the call from United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller. Admit that United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller refused to discuss the reason for the call with the office of Valerie McManus. Valerie, she's a girl that answers the phone there in Mr. Goodloe's office, takes care of some administrative stuff. All right. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller claimed to have sent email to Mr. Goodloe and that Valerie McManus was unable to see a copy of said email in her inbox. Admit that United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller claimed to have sent email to Mr. Goodloe and that Valerie McManus was unable to see a copy in her inbox, and United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller refused to send copy to Valerie McManus. Now, why wouldn't he want to send her an email regarding United States Patent and Trademark Office business that's important that he wants to get to Mr. Goodloe? Think about that. He says, is Mr. Goodloe there? No, he's not here. Oh, I sent him an email. Oh, I don't see that email in my box. And will you send me a copy? No, I'm not going to send you a copy. I wonder why. Let's get back to reading. I lost my place. We'll find it right here. Admit the United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller was uncomfortable to discuss the reason for his call with Valerie McManus because he intended to pressure Mr. Goodloe into committing a nefarious, evil, wicked, treasonous act of fraud against the trust indenture of the Constitution Examiner Michael Miller should have sworn to. The United States Patent and Trademark Office, Mr. Ethan D. Dean, Mr. Goodloe himself, and the people of the world and their mammal, pets, and livestock. See, he committed a fraud on all of us. Admit the United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller sent email to Mr. Goodloe, date and timestamped Monday, September 17th, 2018, 10:41 a.m. Admit that United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller drafted a claim that created a toxic poison to humans, and that he, United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller, sent the sent email to Mr. Goodloe that is time and date stamped Monday, September 17th, 2018, 10:41. And it is, and I got a copy of it. And so does Mr. Hirschfeld. He is an exhibit. All right. Admit that suggesting a toxic poison for humans as a patent claim is evil, wicked, and an act of fraud that has had an unknown negative impact on all humanity, from suppressing the discoveries of cannabis in oral health that has been set before the United States Patent and Trademark Office by and through Mr. Ethan D. Dean's patent attorney, Mr. Goodloe, back in the year of our Lord, 2016. And average 15 million toxic teeth installed in American mouths every year. That's a lot of destruction. Admit that the United States Patent Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller committed a fraud that has had a negative financial global effect has had a negative financial global effect to Mr. Ethan D. Dean as it relates to commerce and his intellectual property. Oh, yeah, we're talking trillions. Oh, not two or three. Oh, no, not 10 or 20. Oh, no, not 30 or 40. No, not 50 or 60. 70, 80, 90 trillion dollars, the life of the patent. Admit that former United States Surgeon General stated that you cannot be healthy without good oral health. Admit that poor oral health creates many additional poor health outcomes in humans and mammals. Admit that the nefarious actions taken by United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller in Mr. Ethan D. Dean's United States Patent and Trademark Office case are clearly torturous interference in an economic interest. That's a word them bar attorneys. That's a term them bar attorneys will understand. Torturous interference in an economic interest. Admit that the nefarious actions taken by United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller are outside of his authority. His authority. Now, a lot of you people following Dave Jose, Josh, he teaches to keep it short. Keep your notices short. Keep your affidavits short. All right. I agree. However, not all situations are the same. So when somebody's coming at me, throwing punches, right? Kicking, got their pow pow out, going pow pow. You think I'm just going to say, oh, here's a notice. Will you stop that? Heck no. It don't work that way. So I could easily have just so buried them in paperwork. Whatever I got here, I don't know, 14 pages, something like that, 13 pages. This could have been 100 pages, 200 pages, 300 pages. And then they'd have to pay some bar attorney a lot of money, 200, 300, 400, 500, $1,000 an hour. Admit that the nefarious actions taken by United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller added cost financially and in emotional distress to Mr. Ethan D. Dean and his legal obligations of prosecuting his intellectual property claims, working with patent attorney Mr. Goodlow. Admit that the nefarious actions taken by United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner Michael Miller suppressed and oppressed the proper standard of development of Mr. Ethan D. Dean's intellectual property from within the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and that the public servants involved in those in charge of oversight of the United States Patent and Trademark Office are accountable to the people at all times. That's what the Constitution says. Admit that oral plaque is a known cause of tooth decay. Admit that tooth decay harms humans. Admit that tooth decay leads to poor oral health. Admit that poor oral health leads to poor overall health. Admit that toxic teeth do kill Americans. Admit that the National Institute of Health has no proof that a root canal tooth is safe. Admit that the American Dental Association has no proof that a root canal tooth is safe. Admit that reportedly there are 15 million root canal procedures performed in the U.S. annually. Admit that there is a great financial cost to 15 million root canal procedures annually in the USA. Admit that there is an extreme amount of pain and suffering from 15 million rotten, decayed teeth requiring a root canal procedure annually in the USA. Admit that the USA population is a small fraction of the world's population. Admit that mammals suffer from tooth decay. Got to turn the page. Holy cow. More admits. Admit that tooth decay is the primary cause and reason for need of a root canal or an implant. Admit that there are bodies of scientific evidence that all root canal teeth are toxic. Admit that toxic teeth harm humans. Admit the United States National Library of Medicine position on lost gum tissue prior to the National Institute of Health funding $1.8 billion the year of our Lord, 2016, to rejuvenate lost gum tissue under the disguise title Revolutionizing the Root Canal, and that the position was that if you have lost gum tissue, it's gone forever and not coming back. Yeah, well, that was before I came along. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean has documented evidence of gum tissue rejuvenation and submitted said evidence with a declaration in the pending continuation patent case that is currently in the prosecution stage within the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Now, this is probably a very rare case where you got such a valuable intellectual property, multiple patents to be pursued, one issued, and one pending, and others to be filed with a priority date all the way back to 2016 that I haven't been able to be in business for. Well, I could have if I'd have known who I was. If I'd have known who I was, none of this would be necessary. We wouldn't be doing any of this. Holy mackerel. All right, let's get back to some reading. Admit the upcoming United States Patent and Trademark Office action in said case is many months in the future. Yeah, they should be fast tracking this. They should have fast tracked this. This patent should have been issued a couple years ago. And it should have been to market back in 2016. And today it should be available the world over. Admit that medical science is unable to rejuvenate lost gum tissue. Admit that the opportunity for a PCT filing of the intellectual property in this case is not available for Mr. Ethan D. Dean as of the publication of an issued United States patent 03022021. That's the date my patent issued, and barred it from international patentability by exposing itself as prior art, because I did a good job of keeping it a secret. I did a good job with my NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. I did a good job with keeping my mouth shut. I did a good job with protecting what needed to be protected in that regard. Obviously, I had no idea about all these attacks, so it was very hard to even comprehend trying to defend against attacks that are coming blindside, that you don't even know are there. It's kind of like being a trained slave when you're not a slave, because you got national immunity. You have immunity from arrest. You have freedom to travel in your conveyance, your automobile, your car, call it whatever you want. Don't let the bastardized language of the bar and these poor teachings from all these guys giving all this poor teaching, telling you got to file your 3 times, you got to reclaim your status, you got to get a national ID. That's all bunk. All right. Own your authority. Own your authority. You got national immunity. You got liberty. You got freedom. You got privacy. Your rights cannot be diminished. They cannot be divided. They can only be made better if that's possible. They can never be diminished. If it is repugnant, it must be abrogated. If you're going to read your constitutions, there's words that you were not taught. Repugnant and abrogated are 2 words that you may not know. Abridged, you may not know. Wheel, not WHEEL. There are words that you may not know. And if you don't know the definition, how are you going to understand what you're reading? All right. Back to reading. Where did I leave? Oh, there we go. Admit that the proof to the claims made here in this document against the United States Patent and Trademark Office and United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller are documented in Exhibit 1, page 12, your internal database of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and in the database of attorney Mr. Goodlow. Now, it may sound to you like I'm doing some repeating, but realize I gave testimony where I testified to these things. Now we're in discovery. So now they got to admit or deny, or neither admit or deny. And again, I try to take the deny option away from them by putting the proof in their hands. How can you deny when the proof is in your hand? Neither admit or deny because they don't know. The proof is in their hands. That leaves one option: admit. And since they won't admit, they admit by acquiescence because that's the language in the document. Failure to respond under penalty of perjury is, oh my goodness, acquiescence. All right, that's not the exact language, but that's the crux of it. So by failing to respond, they admit. Well, he's admitting to an awful lot of stuff here. Admit further investigation beyond these truths within this document must be conducted that goes beyond what is presented herein in order to discover the whole truth in these matters and to clean out any and all bad actors from within the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office has or had bad actors working against the people in violation of the trust indenture and oath and limited authority granted by we the people by and through the U.S. Constitution that binds governments to a just and limited authority. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office grants United States patents and refuses to issue United States trademarks, as in the case of Mr. Ethan D. Dean. Admit that the highest law of the land is common law that founded our constitutions, and that all men are created equal constitutionally and equally is a God-given, constitutionally guaranteed right of all people. Admit that a man who owns a United States patent involving cannabis is treated differently by United States Patent and Trademark Office than a man without cannabis in his patent in clear civil rights violations of equality among men. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office unconstitutionally refuses to treat all men equal in trademarks, and additionally, bad actors within the United States Patent and Trademark Office with nefarious acts of sabotage interferes in a man's intellectual property rights as documented and presented within this document. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean has a constitutional right to happiness. Admit the unconstitutional government attacks on Mr. Ethan D. Dean is a valid, understandable point of difficulty in feeling happy with the many years of government attacks on him and his business, both personally and professionally. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean has a constitutional right to liberty. Admit that the nefarious actions from within and under the authority of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, stemming from Examiner Miller's attempts to quash Mr. Ethan D. Dean's rightful advantage in owning national and international intellectual property, have greatly limited his liberty. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean has a constitutional right to be secure. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office prosecution of Mr. Ethan D. Dean's intellectual property has not been secure within the United States Patent and Trademark Office at the hands of the United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller. Now, we got a lot of the same language in here that we had for D. Christopher Evans. So there's some repeating, for you who are following along with all of this, but very important. And we're almost done. I got two more admits here. Admit that the United States Patent and Trademark Office Examiner Michael Miller must be interrogated for crimes against humanity. Admit that the violations of Mr. Ethan D. Dean's constitutional rights listed here in this document do not account for all the constitutional violations perpetrated against him. Yet, Mr. Ethan D. Dean has sufficiently stated the nefarious, evil, wicked crimes committed against him to receive due care with the remedy called for and described in the remedy statement found below on page 11. And this is page 11. So I actually offered them a pretty good remedy, a cheap way out. But they failed. So, no mercy. What did they turn down? Remedy shall be had by compensating Mr. Ethan D. Dean $3.8 trillion US dollars for his national and international opportunity losses in patent protection, with 18 annual installments, the first to be paid beginning November 2021, and the triple the life of the U.S. intellectual property of Mr. Ethan D. Dean for the civil rights violations, and provide the detailed investigation report timely with proper certified service. So I demanded that they give me a report, right? I want all emails. I want all notes, all phone records. Who was this Miller? Who was he communicating with? And what about Drew Hirschfield? And what about other people in there? And who else is getting this kind of treatment? So we need an investigation. We do. Because this is about you. This all affects you. Everyone has a mouth. Everyone has teeth. And you're all in chains because you don't know who you are. So I'm here to get you out of those chains, get you traveling in your automobile without a license plate, without tabs, without an operator's license, and no fear. With a good, healthy oral flora, no tooth decay, no bad breath, a nourished endocannabinoid system. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for all those things for you. So this is really important. So don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. Don't be afraid to make a positive comment in the comments. And don't be afraid to send me $1 so I can keep on smoking, so I can keep the lights on. So I can keep a little bit of food in my belly, so I can keep on fighting for you. That's what God's got me here for. I'm doing this so you don't have to. I'm going through all this for you. And I'm happy to do it. It's been miserable. It has been hard. Oh, it's been so difficult. But you see, that's what builds character. That's what builds character. That's one of the things that builds character. So there's always tomorrow. And tomorrow you might be wishing for yesterday when tomorrow comes. But there's always another tomorrow. So I do have a plan. I am going to get this fixed. And it's short order. Um, let's take a look at another couple of constitutional rights. Just see what comes up here. I don't have these in any particular order, but rolling up here on 56 minutes and 59 seconds. So we'll keep this stream to about an hour, something close to that, maybe. Uh, this says to be informed of victims' constitutional rights. A victim is supposed to be advised of his constitutional rights. How is an attorney going to do that when attorneys have no idea that your constitutional rights are in your state's constitution? We got Mr. Mr. Steve Leto's law, whatever the heck is it is. He tells you 10 things that are not in the Constitution. Number one thing not in the Constitution, he says, is God. He says you don't have privacy in the Constitution. That comes from another document or a bad movie. This guy gotta be run off. He does. How he can sit there and spew that stuff out, I don't know. I thought I might have the paper here with me on how many times we have God, Lord, blessings, prayer in the constitutions. It's a lot. What's this say? Irrevocable grants of privileges, franchises, or immunities. You got immunity. You got national immunity. What else you got? Privileges. What else you got? Franchises. What do you got franchises on? Your privileges. Is it starting to click with you yet? We're going to get you out of those chains. We'll set you free, make you healthy, and get all these bad actors to pay. They're going to pay. No law granting irrevocably any privilege, franchise, or immunity shall be enacted. Pretty clear, isn't it? What else we got here? Well, there's some good ones. That no person shall be barred from prosecuting or defending before any tribunal in this state by himself or counsel any civil cause to which he is party. All right, that's where I think I'm going to end this one because that's where we're going. We're going to get our grand jury and we're going to get swift justice. Amen. Glory be to him, our creator. Blessings on you. All right. I love you all. Stay safe. Don't nobody fall on a sword. Oh, the Kalkaska County Sheriff, 231-258-8686. Give a call over there. Ask them why they're supporting a treasonous rat. Ask them what happened to the Kalkaska County prosecutor. How come he took off so fast? Ask them why they don't deal with Mr. Dean. Okay? All they had to do was give me my guns and $25,000. Well, they couldn't give me my guns, but they'd give me guns. They couldn't give me my vehicles because they sold them. So they could bring me guns and they could bring me cash. And I ordered it. I deserve it. I am entitled to restitution. And they failed. So now it's costing the county $10,000 a day. And when did that start? Shortly after failure of this. When was this? This summer. $10,000 a day. Retroactive to December 2015. Yep. So they're not happy. The circuit court and the judge, they tried some hanky panky. So they ordered me for jury duty. Ordered me. They got my notice of liability. They have way gone beyond 3 trespasses. And since this is judicial, they got to be held to a higher standard. What do you think? For the judge, personally, and the county, who should pay more, the judge or the county? I think the judge. Maybe 50 million. 50 million to the judge, 25 million to the county, something like that. Operating outside of jurisdiction is treason. So I sent paperwork to the county clerk, gave her affidavit, evidence of treason, conspiring with a private foreign entity that doesn't have the best interest of we, the American people, to participate in an administrative process in a fraud. That's why I sent them. The judge wasn't involved in this point, but the judge decided to get involved. The judge sent me a card. There's 5 boxes to check. The judge, it's whoever wrote it, the judge's name is on it. It's got my name penned. Yeah, so they ordered the fiction, but now they're administering the man. You can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. So the court and the judge excused me per my request. Well, I didn't make a request to be excused. And yet the judge thinks she can excuse me. That's evidence of treason. She's operating outside of her jurisdiction. She wasn't involved. It was the county clerk. So these people, they just keep coming and coming and coming, and the attacks just don't stop. And neither do mine. On the offensive with full defense up. All right. Again, peace out. Love you all. Go hard, Americans. You got immunity, national immunity. Own it.